Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, September 13th, 2024. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab of pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday, Major League Baseball. First up, the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Detroit Tigers. We're going to see Zach Eflin for Baltimore. No official start for the home team. Eflin wasn't his best in that last game against Tampa Bay, his former team. He went 5 2/3 of 3-run balls, so still not miserable. 1 out shy of a quality start, but gave up 2 home runs and 8 base hits to go with it. I'm not too worried about that one start. He's still been very strong since joining the Orioles. He's been a very profitable pitcher as well since joining the Orioles, and I think, while the Tigers have been pretty competitive recently and now they're, above 500, we also have to look at their strength of schedule. They played the Rockies at home. They played the A's, who have been improved but still a losing team. They played at San Diego but lost that series on the road. They took the series against the Red Sox, but they've been struggling. The Angels, the White Sox, so not necessarily the toughest teams. Now against the Orioles, I think Baltimore takes this one, at least his first game. So give me the O's on the money line. Next up, the Kansas City Royals taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. No official starter for KC, but Luis Ortiz should be going for the Buccos. Ortiz, we've mentioned he's had a good season so far, a 3.26 ERA. I would say I'd rather him in the bullpen as a starting pitcher. He's been okay recently as a starter, but you look at that last game against Washington, only 2 strikeouts in 5 2/3, gave up a home run and a couple of walks, 6 base hits to go with it, 3 earned runs, but 4 total runs, ended up being a 5-3 Pirates loss. This is a tough Royals lineup. Even though they're on the road where they've been stronger at Kauffman Stadium offensively, I still think this is a tough lineup. And while they didn't have the best series against the Yankees this week, they still were competitive in those games, forced extra innings as well. I think KC takes this one, so give me the Royals on the money line. Next up, the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies, a big-time rivalry in the NL East. Definitely a big series with both of these teams now in the middle of September in their playoff races. And when you look at this matchup, Jose Quintana, he's pitched well recently, and Nola struggled in that last game against the Marlins, but I still think that Nola is the much better option in this game, and I think the Phillies have the big-time advantage. The fact that they face a left-handed pitcher, they have crushed lefties this year. That includes the last 30 days where they're number 1 in team OPS against lefties. 9.6 walk percentage is pretty steep. 18.8% K percentage is very low. So I think that benefits them here against Quintana. Nola, while he struggled, that was on the road against the Marlins. Now you return home. He's been much better at home this season. Sub-3 ERA with a 6-3 record, 93 strikeouts in 93 innings. I'm going to roll the Phillies in this one on the money line and run line. Next up, the Miami Marlins taking on the Washington Nationals. Edward Cabrera and DJ Hertz are your starters. Pretty good pitching matchup in this one. Cabrera's in solid form. We've talked about Hertz because he was supposed to go originally on a Thursday. They moved him to Friday, but he's pitched well recently. He's also been solid at Nationals Park. To me, I think the Nationals are the play here. The fact that they're able to limit strikeouts against right-handed pitching, I think could be an issue for Edward Cabrera, who's been a little bit more of a strikeout-dependent starter recently. He's pitched well, like we said. I mean, the Phillies, he went 7 innings, a shutout ball with 6 strikeouts and a 10-1 Marlins win in that last game, but I think the Nationals are going to be able to work that pitch count in this one, steal some bases as well, and grab a win in the end. So give me the Nationals on the money line. Next up, the Boston Red Sox taking on the New York Yankees. Tanner Houck and Clark Schmidt are your starters. I thought Clark Schmidt would struggle a little bit in his first start back from injury. He hadn't pitched since May 26th, but he pitched well against a tough Cubs lineup, and I would like to see him miss some more bats. He only had 2 strikeouts in 4 2/3, but no earned runs given up and a 2-0 Yankees win and shutout. And on the other side, Tanner Houck, he's just not been a very profitable pitcher recently. In August, he had a 4.29 ERA, and to start September, he did not pitch well against the Mets. They've lost 5 of his last 6, and it looks like 7 of his last 8 as well. And when you look at the Yankees, this is a tough lineup against right-handed pitching. They also have done a pretty good job recently at limiting strikeouts and getting on base via the walk. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto definitely going to draw a lot of walks themselves, but give me the Yanks in this one on the money line and run line at Yankee Stadium. Next up, the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to see Eric Fetty and Kevin Gausman on the mound. This Blue Jays team has actually been pretty solid against right-handed pitching in the last month. They're second in baseball only to the Arizona Diamondbacks in team OPS against righties, and they're number 1 in baseball in isolated power against righties in the last month. low strikeout rate to go with it. They've faced Eric Fedde here, who's pitched well this year, but not as well with St. Louis as he was with the Chicago White Sox at the beginning of the season. I mean, Fedde had a good outing his last game, but only had 1 strikeout in 4 2/3 against the Mariners, a team we know strikes out a ton. Gave up 3 walks in that game as well. I think the Blue Jays get to Fedde big time early. I mean, the Cardinals are 1-4 in his last 5 starts, so he's not been a very profitable option either. Gausman had a quality start in that last game against Atlanta. Wasn't his best outing overall, but I think he gets back to his winning ways here, and the Blue Jays win this game on the money line. Next up, the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We had Zach Littell and Tanner Bybee as your starters. Right now, I'm just not looking to back Tanner Bybee at Progressive Field. We know he struggled there overall this season with a 4.54 ERA, but you look at his last 2 home games, specifically 10 2/3 against the Royals and Rangers, 16 combined base hits, 3 home runs, 9 earned runs to go with it. He had 12 strikeouts, but he has just not pitched too well at home recently. The Rays are not a great lineup, but I still think they'll be able to get to him. And Littell, while he hasn't been the best on the road this year, his last 2 road games combined 10 2/3 against the Orioles and the Astros. Definitely tough lineups. Only 1 run given up in those 2 starts. Both of those ended up being Rays victories. So I'm willing to back Littell here. Give me the Rays on the money line. Next up, the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves. This should be a great series. We got Landon Knack and Spencer Schwellenbach on the mound. And we mentioned the last time Schwellenbach took the mound that looked like he was starting to run out of gas a little bit. We see this plenty of times with young pitchers that are not used to this kind of workload. Right now, he's approaching 100 innings this season at the major league level. It's not easy, and he also pitched in the minor leagues before making the move up to the majors. So for me, Schwellenbach was not great in that last game. He gave up 10 base hits. I know it was against the Blue Jays, who we just talked about have been red hot against righties, but the Dodgers are not much easier to face. LA, one of the best lineups in baseball. Landon Knack's pitching well. He's in good form. I got to go with the Dodgers in this game on the money line on the road. Next up, the Oakland Athletics taking on the Chicago White Sox. JT Ginn and Garrett Crochet are your starters. Crochet's had a fine season this year, but in the last game, 4 earned runs in only 2 innings of work against the Red Sox. I know the A's have not been their best against lefties recently, but this is still a lineup that's improved this year, and I think they're the much better team in this matchup. I think across the board, starting pitching, even with Crochet, even though he's had better numbers, recently he's not been that type of guy. He's also not pitching deep into ball games. I think the A's lineup is much better and more reliable, and even the bullpen. So give me the A's in this one on the money line and run line. In our next game, we go to Target Field as the Reds take on the Twins. Julian Aguilar and Bailey Ober are your starters. Bailey Ober's had a couple of starts this year where he's gotten absolutely crushed, and that's the reason why his ERA is still pretty steep at 3.77. But honestly, outside of those handful of games, he has been very consistent and very sharp for the Twins. I mean, last game against Kansas City, 7 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, and 7 strikeouts. The Twins didn't back him up offensively, but he's given up only 2 base hits in his last 13 innings of work. So I'm willing to back him in this spot. I mean, Aguilar's pitched okay so far, but I mean, on the road, he's been better than at Great American Ballpark, but he also only has 11 strikeouts in 21 innings of work. I think the Twins can get to him early and often, win this game, and cover the run line at Target Field. Next up, the Colorado Rockies hosting the Chicago Cubs from Coors Field. We're going to see Javier Assad and Austin Gomber on the mound in this one. Now, we've talked about how the Cubs' offense has been pretty strong in the second half of the season and really the last month of the season, and that's definitely true, but against left-handed pitching, it's kind of fallen off a little bit recently. They're 22nd in baseball in the last 30 days against lefties in isolated power and 16th in team OPS. Now, they have a low strikeout rate, which is always great to see, but I just think Austin Gomber, he's coming off one of his best starts of his career. He was placed on the paternity list on Tuesday. It's why he missed his last start, his scheduled start, but he should be ready to go here. 8 innings of 1-run ball against the Braves in that last game in a 3-1 win on the road for the Rockies. We don't see that too often as a big-time dog. I think Gomber can pitch well. And Javier Assad's only had 1 start in his career at Coors Field. It was last year, and it wasn't a good outing. It was less than 4 innings of 4-run baseball. And I like the Rockies in this one, getting a great price on the money line at home. Next up, the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. We're going to see Tobias Myers and Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound. Now, the Brewers have smoked lefties recently. In the last month, they're top 10 in team OPS and top 3 in isolated power against lefties. They didn't do too much against Blake Snell, but that's Blake Snell. Now you're facing Eduardo Rodriguez, who is not in good form. He's given up a ton of sharp contact. He's not been great at Chase Field. I think the Brewers get to him early and often in this game. Tobias Myers is a tough matchup against the Diamondbacks team. It's playing at Chase Field. They do a great job at limiting strikeouts, but I still think with how well he's pitched this year, how well he's pitched on the road this year, he'll be good enough for the Brewers bats to do most of the talking, win this game, and potentially cover the run line as well. Give me the Brewers in this one. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Seattle Mariners. We're going to see the long-awaited season debut of Jacob deGrom for the Rangers and no official starter for the Mariners. deGrom had a couple of rehab starts, looked very sharp in both of those games. Great strikeout numbers. His control was there. It's exactly what you're looking for if you're a Rangers fan. Now, obviously, the defending World Series champions, they've had a very disappointing season this year. They're not going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to be basically be looking for next year. But deGrom getting a start right now, getting a couple starts now to end the season, definitely something that you can build on going into next year. I think deGrom pitches well against the Mariners team and strikes out left and right. They've done better offensively in the last month or so against righties, but I still think deGrom is going to be the much better option. He probably won't go too much more than 4, maybe 5 innings at the most, but by the end of this game, I still like the Rangers' chances to win it and potentially cover the run line. So give me Texas in this one. Next up, we see the final game for the Friday card in Major League Baseball. The San Diego Padres and the San Francisco Giants. Dylan Cease and Logan Webb are your starters. We saw the same pitching matchup last week in San Diego. Ended up being a Giants win. Even though Dylan Cease struggled and Logan Webb had the better outing, I still didn't think Logan Webb was that great in that game. He gave up 10 base hits in 6 innings of work. He only had 3 strikeouts. And Logan Webb's been giving up a lot of sharp contact and a lot of base hits in general recently. 10 against San Diego, 8 of them against the Marlins. Gave up 4 earned runs and a couple of homers against the Brewers previously. So I don't think he's necessarily in the best form. Even though Dylan Cease was not his best in that game against San Francisco, I think he's a much better option right now in this matchup. I think the Padres have the better bullpen and lineup to go with it. So I think we see a bounce-back performance from Dylan Cease, and I think the Padres take this one, get some revenge on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and put those baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.